A group of leaders are calling for the release of Nnamdi Kanu. Question is, should Nnamdi Kanu be released without trial? Comment down below and let me know what you think. The leaders of the Southern and Middle Belt Forum are condemning the incarceration of Nnamdi Kanu. Now, Nnamdi Kanu is not in DSS custody because he passed one-way traffic. Nope. The federal government, due to the regime of the former President Buhari, slammed some heavy charges of treason, terrorism on the leader of the separatist movement. This is the case because it's Nnamdi Kanu versus the federal government. Both want two different things. Kanu is asking for an independent state of Biafra, and this is a request that we know that since the time of General Ojukwu, we have been on this matter, specifically people who we would call them Biafrans. Now remember, this actually led to a civil war, even though it's never taught in Nigeria. Meanwhile, the Nigerian government, they are not ready to negotiate any type of Biafra or anything like that. And I understand that, and I also agree. Why? Because there is strength in our numbers. I mean, what's going to happen when we lose that? So let's travel back to the past. Let me explain exactly what's happening in case you're just catching up. Kanu has been in and out of the courtroom since 2015. He was granted bail, but fled Nigeria in 2017. And as we all know, in 2021, he was forcefully extradited from Kenya back to Nigeria, and he was rearrested. Now in 2022, the Nigerian Court of Appeal discharged the charges of terrorism and violence instigation in the East. And it's just been a game of hide and seek because now in 2023, the Supreme Court sat on his case again and they dismissed the overturned ruling that dismissed his terrorism charges. Now this trial is expected to continue this year in 2024. His supporters have not slept one wink since then. They are constantly calling for his release. Remember, I reported this in the news about a week and a half ago. But now the IPOB are not only calling for his release. It's interesting because the Southern and Middle Belt leaders are actually asking President Tinubu to release Kanu for the promise of security in the East. What are they offering? Treaty? A pact? No, they're simply laying down an offer that we'll talk to him. From where to where? As a guarantee of good behavior. How? I mean, I don't think that's a good enough reason to release him, but if President Tinubu takes this, I'll be surprised. The question is, do you think that releasing Kanu will bring peace to the East? Or even end this conversation of creating Biafra? Now, I want to give you guys a really large scope perspective of what's happening. It's a really dicey situation because these leaders are vouching that his release will cause peace in the East. We know that Nnamdi Kanu's lieutenant and Biafran advocate Simon Ekpa actually instigated the sit-at-home that happens every single Monday in the East. How productive has this been though? Every Monday, businesses are closed. Imagine business hubs like Aba and Onitsha being closed. Why? Because they're trying to get the attention of the government. And the question is, how much power does Nnamdi Kanu actually have over his followers? Because Nnamdi Kanu spoke to Simon Ekpa and he said, "Sir, end this sit-at-home order." But what happened? Simon Ekpa said, "Nope, I am not ending it." And this sit-at-home order has led to a lot of violence in the East. Children are beaten on their way to school, buses are set on fire, shops are razed down. I mean, it's causing a lot of chaos. So you're doing this to your people because you're trying to get attention of the government, and yet you claim you love them, but you're also preventing them from being able to go on with their lives. Let's say it was a sit-at-home order in another part of the country. But you're inflicting pain on your own people for the sake of your own people. Sometimes our politicians are just meh. Maybe Simon Ekpa doesn't consider him a politician, he considers himself an advocate and a separatist, but in my own opinion, that's shady business. Meanwhile, Miyetti Allah is getting into the mix. They want to form their own militia in Nasarawa State. Their agenda is to assist security agents in curbing criminality such as cattle rustling, kidnapping, rural banditry, which we know we've all been dealing with and we're all getting really frustrated. They are trying to counter the supposed reputation that Fulanis have in the country. But they are also insisting that the enactment of the anti-open grazing laws is the most wicked act any government can do, considering the economic interests of Fulani pastoralists. And when you understand that, is that the way the Fulani live, there are cattle they have to graze. And this anti-open grazing law prevents them from being able to do that. That's questionable because we're talking about ways of the past versus the current times we're living in right now, right? You can't say that just because your people have a way of living which is for grazing to happen anywhere, that you'll be able to continue to do that. There have to be parameters around that. And if you're encroaching on someone else's land, then it's illegal. It's really just that simple. So these are the conflicts here. Ways of a people versus rule of law. How do we meet in the middle? The forum leaders, understandably though, they are not too happy about this. They do not think that Mayati Allah should be given any permission to form any type of militia. Why? Because what you're doing is you possibly are encouraging other different groups to create ethnic militias across the nation. What are you stoking foundation for? Small civil war possibly. So you have to be very careful with this. I appreciate their efforts and desire to want to help use their own tactics to curb the kidnappings and the issues that are happening. Because when you think about it, our security agents don't seem to be able to address this issue. So maybe they have a solution for it, but they need to work in part with our security agents. Sound of militias being formed all over the country, it makes me nervous. All right, let's go back to Nnamdi Kanu. Now, if releasing Kanu without trial becomes the reason for peace, what does this message actually send? Does it mean that he's going to stop advocating for a sovereign country? I doubt it. Do you think that someone who has been working all his life towards the separation of a part of Nigeria will just say, oh yeah, they released me, okay, I'm going to stop advocating for this? It's not going to happen. But comment down below, let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think. If Nnamdi Kanu is released without trial, will he release his ambition for a Biafra nation? We'll just have to wait and see. But what I do know is that the rule of law needs to take center stage. Accusations of treason, terrorism, they all deserve due process. And militias, regardless of their origins, I think they should be treated as a threat. Again, let me know your thoughts. These are my opinions. Meanwhile, something shocking happened during the AFCON games. It involved a policeman and an AK-47. You gotta click on the next video to find out what happened.